Thank you very much. How you guys doing? All right? Okay, that's a certain level of that's almost like a girl telling you she'll phone you back. You know what I mean, right? With a smile as she jumps in the Uber, right? Okay, yeah, so this is the Asia House Poetry Slam 2019. There's going to be some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful expressions of poetry, expressions of opinion, expression of thoughts. Every poem starts with a thought, an idea, an emotion, a passion, and hopefully that emotion and passion and thought will be translated to you, the wonderful receiving audience. The only thing we ask from you is to make sure that all your phones are turned to some form of silence, please. You know, you do it in the cinema, you can do it for us. And also, the way I look at it is that this is a journey, right? Every single congregation of events is a journey. There will never be this combination of people ever here again. This is it, you know what I mean? All of you have come from all different types of places. Some of you come from work, some of you just about maybe starting a night shift later on, some of you should day off, who knows, right? But something has called you to come here and something has brought you to this space to enjoy the poetry that we're about to enjoy tonight. And so I just ask that the same respect and enthusiasm you would give the first performer is the same respect and enthusiasm you would give the last performer, because it is a journey. My name is Mr. G, for those of you that don't know, and I'm going to kick off with a poem, and then I'll introduce the judges, and then we will get the show going. This poem's an experiment for me. My mother's from a country called Guyana in South America, and some of you may or may not know Guyana, but the family are originally from India. And so Guyana is a country where it's got a huge Indian population, it's got a huge black population, and they don't get on at all. And so, so this poem is me trying to come to terms with that existence. And so, what do I need to explain? Do I need to explain anything? There's a few Guyanese restaurants in there. Oh yeah, Guyana is called the land of many waters, and there's 3 rivers in there. One's called the Berbice, one's called the Essequibo, and one's called the river you've probably heard of, it's called the Demerara, which is where Demerara sugar comes from, right? So that's probably what you need to know. Anyway, so this poem is called A Tale of 3 Rivers. They call it the land of many waters, but here's a tale of 3 rivers, and how they intertwine to reflect my life's many mirrors. The river Ganges baptized my indentured heart, while my ebony soul floated down the Nile. But the river Thames partitioned them apart before they could put the West on trial. Wata na get enemy, but I'm yet to see Jahaji by. So I now speak the language found in the color of my teardrops. You see, I'm half African and half Indian. My system's filled with 2 waters and a violence that saturates both traditions, while the third was gently shaken and not stirred into my mind via Britain's educational system, where they teach you to spread hatred, but with a smile. I grew up in London in the 1970s, surrounded by Guyanese whispers amidst family tables. My uncles harbored inebriated blisters from Windrush trips to echoed graveyards, candlelit shots of El Dorado, a golden city lost in a suggestion. By the first rule of the plantation is to choke your independence. Then they rob you at the election, beat you with a rod of no correction. But you don't want to ever be around when the cutlass slips. You don't want to ever hear the truth from a pundit's lips. Just pass me another drink by and don't watch my sips. And as for this Winston Churchill cigar, it's superb. Thus mumbled my drunk Indian uncle one Notting Hill night, over plates of Chinese food and spilt Madeira wine. I laughed as he struggled to form a sentence from pre-Columbian times because nobody at that table could speak their mother's tongue. He saw my childish giggles drenched in English privilege. For what did this little black boy know about the range of the village, about the rape or the pillage, the blood that sugarcane delivers? Son Chapman, Wismar, these are names I can't envisage. So with an emotional quickness, he sobered up. Oh. See, there's laugh when we talk about Guyanese freedom. You just think England give independence easy? One flag down, another flag raised? But you don't know about the punishment and the price we pay. Africa and India went to war. And like a jag, he was raw. My waterfall was struck by this stumbling stone. It rippled inside my bloodstream with self-destructive overload. Indian arteries attacking my black veins, African bones puncturing my brown lungs, as the river Nile and the river Ganges fought to escape the lowest rung. Meanwhile, by the river Thames, we fed breadcrumbs to the swans. And it was on this day, in 1980, I saw the true cost of revolution. My uncle spoke of a British-owned Guyana in 1953, where the Booker Prize for fiction has to be seen to be believed. He told me of two young men, one called Forbes, one called Chedi, who united to win their country's first democratic election. A child of India and a child of Africa, sounding thunder for independence. But Washington and Westminster can make paving stones of good intentions. For history has a power, and its power can form a weapon. And Lord knows every weapon could be turned upon itself. Did you know that Africans died moving 100 million tons of dirt to create Guyana from the sea? And Indian backs were put to work, plantation charm is sugar sweet. And the Amerindian land rights were dispersed, and we got whites, Chinese, and Portuguese. So for someone to reverse from all this hurt, they got to speak to Alawi. Because there's no point in shouting at the lock unless your voice provides the key. And Chedi and Forbes found that freedom's door handle was locked by those who claimed democracy. But there were some things that they couldn't foresee. Did they really think the River Thames wants the River Niles and the River Ganges to agree? And include the River Amazon and rejoin the Sea of Liberty? Don't they think that MI6 and CIA will split these rivers into streams? And you can count the number of Windrush ships offering a better life in London. You best count the number of the beast. Now watch your streams proportion into trickles, as everybody wants to leave. Mommy, I can't take the cold water to the store. There's nothing left to eat. Come see your trickles reduced to droplets, leaving you hungry in the streets, where the hatred of your neighbor is the only religion that you believe. Finally, let your droplets dictate your tears, as election fever disappears. In London, I've seen Guyanese of all races drown their sorrows, 2 shots of rum for every beer. They call it the land of many waters, but I can only speak of 3 rivers, and how they intertwine to reflect my life's many rivers, mirrors. Perhaps the legacy of Guyanese independence is one that's yet to be defined. I hope that one day the Essequibo, Berbice, and Demerara will flow into our hearts and free our minds. Thank you. Okay, right. So I'm going to introduce the judges, and these are the judges. I want you to view them with a certain amount of awe and austere that they quite rightly deserve for being the judges. But a judge is only as good as their judgment. So if you feel that their judgments are slightly, certain way, or you feel you can influence their judgments by giving an extended amount of applause, or even stares, they'll accept bribes, trust me, I know them very well, right? Feel free to do so. So please give a big round of applause to, I forgot your name. Imtiaz, sorry for the pronunciation, Imtiaz Darka and Teresa Lola. Can I check see the mics are working?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
We got the mics, got the mics.
Don't think so?
Yeah.
Right.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so what do you think of my poem? Was it? I've got a suit on.
Feedback. I really liked it. I really did. In the confidence of your performance as well.
Yeah, see, that's what I like. I always liked you, I always knew you had potential, man. You know what I mean? And that mustard jacket, slamming, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, you managed to compress a lot of history in between those 3 rivers.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take that as a win, because trust me, I'm desperate like that, right? Okay, so we are going to get to our performers, and as I said, performing poetry, it's a proper exposition. Even that one I did there, that one touches a lot of family stuff, which, boy, yeah, but that's the poem comes from a passion. That's where it comes from. So, please, be warm and welcoming, because, these folks are sharing their souls with you, right? So, we are going to go to, yes, right, here we go. Zara has been writing poetry for 3 years. She was inspired by watching Sarah Kay perform. She has a book coming out next year with Burning Eye called Data Palm Guzzles. And so that's on Burning Eye Books. And I asked her for her 3 ingredients for happiness, and she chose books, family, and lavender fields. So, with a big warm round of applause, give her a welcome to Zara.
this poem is titled Sargam, after one of the biggest expat communities where I was growing up. It's one letter away from meaning heaven in Malayalam. Sargam. I miss hear a friend say she went to heaven for the weekend, how everyone was dancing all night, how there were string lights everywhere, how her parents lost their frowns in the crowd. I asked her why she left. I was 6. God knows I don't still picture Jannah the way I did. When the class prefect tries on her best sermon pitch, asks us, you know, Albaik, you get those in heaven. Anything you wish for just comes flying to you, only if your name's not on the talking list. There's never been a version of heaven that didn't hold my old life. Date palms and Cornish picnics. Of all the things I said goodbye to, loss, slept in the house coated with sand. The ones where we watched the world from periscopes, ordered shawarma from the Lebanese diner. I've downsized my dua since then. They exchange outfits at the gates of heaven, asks to be let in, asks about a boy, asks about a dead grandfather. Of all the heavens I've hoarded, I like the ones with the flying boxes of fried chicken, the one where the bouncer speaks Arabic, the one where you don't need the right passports to stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lara. Okay.
Well,
A few words of wisdom.
Well, I was really blown away by first of all, that really strong idea of going to heaven for the weekend, going away to heaven for the weekend. What a great idea to start with. And then the fact that this very normal, everyday versions of heaven arrive, the Lebanese diner and the boy, and then suddenly, in the middle of it, something very touching, the dead grandfather as well. So somehow you've been able to bring levels of emotion into it, into a really strong, clear idea, and then that fantastic last line that takes it to another level altogether. I loved that poem.
Oh, thank you very much. Big round of applause for Zara. Okay. Next up, we've got Mayura. She's been writing for the last 4 years. She was inspired after reading a poem called Love After Love, and she figured to herself, I can do that. She likes the lyrics of MCs, her favorite being Dave.
Who is it?
You from South London? South London? East. Wow. It's kind of treacherous up there, man. You know what I mean? Right? And she used to present a poetry show for BBC Norfolk. And her ingredients for happiness were loved ones, sunshine, and bubbles. And she actually says that she has like a little bubble, she's got a bubble machine, and she usually walks around that little bubble thing. So, something like you walk through like the West End or a festival and you just see random bubbles, you don't know where they're coming from. There's your source, So, please give a big round of applause to Mayura!
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, cool. My poem's called From. It's a response to the question, where are you from, that we all get asked, and just what I think of home. I sit a little taller with the glee of repping concrete walls devoured by graffiti, with spots of moss decorating the cracks. Of lunchtime spent crammed in chicken and chip shops, biting into the latest grime track. Of the imam from next door wishing me, Happy Diwali, beta, as we light up our fireworks of solidarity over a neighborhood filled with Pakistani Muslims and Indian Hindus, living in cohesion 3,857 miles away from the empire sketches of partition. East London, I say, leaning forward with pride. To which you say, no, where are you from? I frown, confused as to how you could possibly know of snow spilling over the land like Tippex painting the page white. Of Christmas Eve carols singing the siren songs of unity as the neighbors change their tunes from Leave Black Pigs to Merry Christmas. When we burn dreams and letters to Santa, set alight in a fireplace of Danish tradition. I draw out my answer. I was born in Denmark, but moved here when I was 6. No, you laugh. Where are you from? Oh, I say, finally understanding the full extent of your question. So I sit back and I think of late school runs past the ringings of nearby temple bells, of grandmother's fables being devoured like the runny juices of rambutan, of children learning to take their first steps on land planted with minefields instead of flowers, of leaving behind an island drowning red in a sea of ethnic cleansing. My parents are from Elam. I guess what you'd call Sri Lanka? We're Tamil. Ah, you sigh, relaxing back into your chair of ignorant bliss. As I follow the lines of my palms to the edges of my hands, following my veins to the torn maps of mismatched countries, falling into place together to create a land that does not exist on your map, but exists only within myself. Thank you.
Well done, Mayura.
I thought that was a really, really beautiful poem. I mean, I love the way you explore the complexities of identity. You took us from Denmark to England, took us to school, Christmas, and you were able to squeeze so much into that poem. And the imagery was beautiful, the imagery about unity in the beginning, talking about your neighborhood and the Pakistani Muslims and Indian Hindus. So yeah, I thought it was beautiful, well written.
Yeah, well done, man. No mention of Streatham, but you know, what can we do, right? Big round of applause for Mayura. Okay, next up we've got Aman Grover. He's been writing for a year and a half. He's inspired by faith and culture and the British Asian crew. Whoop, whoop, gang, gang. He studies climate change and he wants to combine poetry with his studies and his passion in the hope that we can save the planet. When I asked him for his 3 ingredients for happiness, he said meditation, family, and cheese toasties. So I think that can bring us all together, you know, some cheese toasties, you know. So please welcome to the stage, Aman Grover.
Hi, my name is Aman Grover, and the piece I'm going to be performing for you today is called Whispers from Delhi. The roadside chaiwala cowers as he lights his charcoal fire cigarette, and the newsboy flings, with practiced ease, a rolled Hindustan Times to the 3rd floor terrace. The scent of jasmine and stale mendi floats from the kitchen window, infiltrates my dreams and teases it awake until it yawns and blinks. Only here could you find melody in the unknown, bird song and quivering car horn, and the clash of burtan in sync. Saffron musk notes, garam chai, the sizzle of Amritsari fish, the heating of the stove symbolic, a new day dawns. Streaks of fire red, earthly green, and starchy yellow. Maize and chilies, rich methi, coriander, and corn. Poetry immortalized in ancient ruins of old sandstone, faithful calls to prayer, singing of its rust and glory, Qutub Minar, the Tower of Victory, the original mosque, whispering tales of kingdoms and decorated Mughal stories. A coconut seller resides, legs folded, over strewn woolen blanket, under musty shade. To his left, ripening green orbs, brimming with rich white froth. To his right, ready-made straws and his trusted arched blade. A playground for the watchful monkeys, primal man in a foreign habitat of cement and concrete, wreaking havoc upon rooftop, rosy cheeks and darting eyes, awaiting stolen ripe mangoes, the ultimate treat. The purring of early engines being risen much too early, shopkeepers clasping shutters and setting cloths to unfold, the ember remains of Agarbati from his morning prayers. A portrait of your savior watches, christened with fresh orange marigold. Uncle G, a presiding owl, perched upon his creaking divan, the dense bristles under his nose curling just above the lip, occasionally dabbing the sweat quivering above his creased brow, surveying his alley, Kirpan nesting under his kameez at the hip. 2 rupee kites strung with thin felt and vine, clear skies and delighted childish cries, dotted diamonds bobbing to the sunset's velvet rhythm. Ma, look, look how it flies. The fabled Silk Road, metro rail, end of the line, Delhi, the crux of cultural rags and esteem, a metropolis of clouds encasing 19 million beating hearts, produce and labor, harsh words, the dealt currency of our dreams. This humble earth, the earth upon which I lay my heavy head, crumbling under the weight of a human swarm with half-shelved hopes. Racing to the next bright light, the shiny screen, the highest views. Here, take my hand. Allow me to show you the ropes. A cluttered urban forest of glistening new, towering above bodes of ancient parched clay, office workers peering down from their purchased cloud nines, invisible societal lines, and they're here to stay. From Chandni Chowk to India Gate, Sultan Emperor Red Fort with its bazaar and towering walls, Karol Bagh's hustle and Gurgaon's traffic, I yearn to find peace in these rolling kulfi cart stalls. I am the city of cities, merchants, conquerors, invaders, seekers, wanderers, deluded, soulless, healers, walking through my winding gullies. My eternal city of shimmering lights, monsoon showers, I see through your shades of darkness and hue. You simmer below the surface, veiled beneath the stars. Delhi, you've changed. Why can't I recognize you?
Big shout out to Armin Grover.
Well, that was a poem that was a kind of a love poem and an elegy to a whole city. And in the poem, there was a whole city worth of sensations, taste and sight and the smell of things. It was a very rich poem in that sense, certainly in terms of sensation. And it was interesting that there were languages, different languages being used unapologetically, just words thrown in, because that's the way we hear language a lot of the time. That's the way conversations come to us, half understood, but we are able to fill in the gaps in some sort of way.
Yeah, good stuff, man. And when you said Uncle G, I thought I got a shout out, you know what I mean? Okay, big round of applause for Armin Grover.
Bear with. So this poem is called Enough. Before I travelled to Sri Lanka for the very first time, my cousin told me that the most important word that I could learn in Tamil is Karnam, enough. And I didn't understand why until I got there. There, where each meal is so distinct, but also seem to slowly meld together. As one ends, the preparation for the next begins. There, where they pile the plates so high the food could almost touch the sky. There, where the edible leaning tower before me threatens to spill over the sides and floor me, I somehow find the strength to say, thank you, Jaya Auntie, Kamala Mami, but please, it's enough. Karnam, bus. She does not even hesitate, but simply continues to spoon even more food onto my plate. Unwavering in her mission, it's a condition that all aunties suffer from. They feel the need to feed. I even cover up my plate with one hand, form a line of defense with my palm and fingertips. She will never get through this elaborate barrier, I think to myself. But little did I know that she is not afraid to pour hot sambar, spicy, soupy, liquid gold directly onto my skin. So at least that way, some of it can still soak in. These daily feasts are feats of near perfection that I have never even tried to replicate, because feeding a family isn't easy by any means. Hours over an open fire stove, no microwave or Uber Eats to lessen the load. And we are living in a patriarchy, naturally, so the women will wait hand and foot on the men while they barely lift a finger, unless specifically asked, and sometimes not even then. But I think that my Kamala Mami is happy, at least. She is more joyful than most people I know. Her laugh is a song that I would listen to on repeat if I could. There's no real melody, but as she cackles and whoops, the sound fills my heart with so much joy it could literally burst. And she is selfless to a degree that I find hard to conceive. When I give her a gift that my sister has sent to her from across the seas, she hides it in a cupboard for a rainy day, or more likely, to give away to someone else who's more in need. She's everything I wish I could be: a teacher, a mother, the most compassionate of caregivers. We stayed with her in Vavaniya for only 4 days, in a near-constant, sleepy, satiated haze. There, where we were trapped in language barriers, but not when it came to food, because making my favorite meals was how she said, "I love you," every day, without fail, and that needed no further translation. Because even though it is dripping in syrup, the payasam is never too sweet. Make no mistake, it will give you cavities and maybe a sugar-induced stomachache, but that's only for the weak. Because in my heart, it's never too sweet to eat. And the curries are never too spicy, even when there are hot tears trailing streaks down my cheeks, and my nose threatens to run and run off and away with a dish and the spoon, they are never too spicy to try. And even when my auntie, Mami, asks me, finally, Karnam, enough? My response to her is a resounding no. Because even when I'm so full that I resemble the moon, hanging low and heavy in that rusty red sky, or a ripe, full mango that could roll down the street and pop like a balloon, I will never, ever have had enough of you. Thank you.
That was a very touching poem from Michelle, because what she did was take something that we all, I mean, most of us in this room, I think, would recognize, which is the kind of aggressive hospitality that's offered to a guest, and the filling of the plate and the refilling of the plate. But she's used that really simple image, domestic image, to talk about much bigger things, and that was a very clever thing to do. And right up to that very touching ending where she turned it around completely so it would never be enough.
Big round of applause once again for Michelle Nathan. Okay, next up we have got Prerana Kumar. She said she's been writing for 5 years. She's been inspired by Urdu music. I asked her for her 3 ingredients for happiness, right? Check where she goes to me. She goes, have you heard of dal? Have you heard of dal? I was like, yeah. I grew up on dal. I grew up on roti, dal, and puri, man. That's what I grew up on, right? You know, right? Yeah. So, in Guyana, we make dal the best. I don't care what any of you say, right? We put burnt ginger in it. We put cloves. Well, we got it going on. Trust me. You know what I mean? You're not ready for that. And hush. Right. Okay. Anyway, that was one ingredient. Check this out. Ingredients for happiness. Dal, beautiful women, and poetry. That's a great Saturday night, isn't it, bro? You know what I mean, right? Anyway, without any further ado, please welcome up to the podium the one and only Prarana Kumar.
Hi, sorry if I cough. I have a really bad throat today. So this poem is titled Ocean People. It's written to sort of try and showcase caste system, which is very prevalent in Indian society, through a patriarchal lens. So how women have an added layer, there's like an intricate layer of discrimination that women face. This is to try and showcase that. Ocean People. My father says I have his blood, filtered blood of the Maliks that came before us. He says we are Kshatriya. We do not bow, do not beg. Says my mother was never one of us. Says names aren't always much. Spits out what's in the name is in the skin. Says she does not know how to be smart. Weed out pure blood from that graveyard-stained discard. Says she begged her father, purple dressing gown cut at the edges, to take her back a year into their marriage. Says she's a woman who gave him girls. Says his warrior son bled out one night. Made pretty patterns on the bed sheets like the cheap tie-dye handkerchiefs they sold for 10 rupees in the market. Says she's a woman not whole enough to weather him. Says that the 160 million shadow-skinned in my country were cast below in this hierarchy. Kshatriyas don't marry them. Says it is a sin to want anything outside this caste-wrapped caste. Tells me when I marry, it'll be one of us. Draws a list of what I need to pour into my caste-cut womb to make his warrior son. A generation late, but he'd wait. Singing bhakti hymns with incense, smelling of his deferred fruit suspended inside me. The air in our house was always sharp ginger and anticipation. My mother's palms are cracked with the effort of digging a hole deep enough to bury that pretty stained bedsheet, the ghost of her womb, his ginger-stained expectation. But she never asks us to clean up after. My mother, not whole enough, he said, was whole enough to hold on to the children he did not want with arms ocean-wide. Was whole enough to be simply human, to accept simply human, to love simply human. The next time my father tells me he is pinnacle of the pyramid atop blood cement foundation, I will say no. They, we, are the ocean. And the ocean never forgets. The next time my father tells me our skin houses the purest blood, I will ask him why he took the knife to it. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Prarana Kumar.
Thank you. There's so many standout lines from that. I was like trying to write down everything. But I think initially describing the mother from the father's perspective already kind of presents the alienation that she perhaps feels, and the distance as well. And some other things that stood out, the line, "My mother's palms are cracked from digging," that was just beautiful, beautiful imagery. And I love how you went from like the blood to the ocean, just like something really small in the body to something wider. So yeah, I love just kind of the little details in the poem as well as the wider message. It was, yeah, thank you. I love that.
Well done. Okay, next up we've got Kate Dickens. She's been writing since school, and she said she's inspired by all the feelings that she can't express any other way. Her 3 ingredients for happiness are friendship, contentment, and Cadbury's. So please give a big round of applause to Kate Dickens.
My poem is entitled White British, Gravesend, Punjabi. The curried streets of Gravesend, punctuated by chip shops selling curry sauce. We laugh, curry, not likely. Walking past, we slip into the Indian shop next door. She says something to Uncle in Punjabi, and I feel pale and ignorant, like I should have tried harder, just because my family's not from India. I live opposite the Gurdwara. I've eaten in the langar, and yet I don't know any of their words. I don't know if the symbol on the 246 blue and orange flags that adorn the temple gates is word or picture. But I wave one at Vaisakhi every year, and I enjoy the fireworks at Diwali because I know about Rama and Sita, and I'm proud to process with the multicolored crowd through our town. I didn't know about partition or colonialism until it was on TV. She buys us samosas and jalebi for afters, which we sit under grey clouds to eat. She laughs into the breeze as I bite into my samosa, soaked in spicy sauce. I splutter, gulping down the potatoes and peas. I stick my tongue into the wind and wag it like a tail. Leave the sauce, she sighs. It's too spicy even for me. Maybe we should have got curry sauce from the chip shop after all. In Gravesend, we're born knowing how to Bhangra. That's what my friend says. Or at least we learn it at school. Screw in the light bulb, pet the dog. Is that racist? She says it's not. We all learnt it like that. And we still dance the same. Have you ever been to a club in Gravesend? I don't recommend it, but you'll see Bhangra on any dance floor. As we wander back home, a white woman in a red sari crosses the street. They had the Catholic ceremony last week, apparently. She's beautiful. She's my sister's friend. Who's she marrying? Ashdeep. He went to our primary school, I think. I love a Sikh wedding, though I've not yet been to one. But I can see from my window, they're like an artist's palette. They shine like stars in red and gold, and when it's over they leave, streaks of colour on the otherwise dull tarmac streets. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Kate Dickens.
That poem. I was really interested in that poem, in seeing the kind of the way it slipped between knowing and not knowing, and the ways that we get knowledge. The fact that none of that comes through from school or from a history that's taught to us, but at least here, but that the poet in this poem, the I is trying to learn those things through visuals, through images, and through taste. I found that very interesting.
Okay. Once again, big round of applause for Kate Dickens. So those have been our contestants. For those of you that do not know, this is the Asia House Poetry Slam 2019, brought to us by Spread the Word and the Bagri Foundation. We've got our wonderful judges. What we're going to do right now is we're going to have a reading from each one of the judges and then a reading from myself. So while one judge is reading, the other one should be thinking about the scores. And while the other judge is reading, the other one should be thinking about the scores. And when I'm reading, you two can just start fighting amongst yourselves.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be listening to the other judge reading.
Okay, oh wow. Okay, so you're pulling those sly moves, right? Okay, well, we are going to have one judge reading, and then when I'm reading, Teresa, you'll be figuring out, what the final scores are. So, she's just not an amazing person in an amazing jacket, right? And not just a judge, just come here just to judge us like Moses coming down from the mountain. We have got the wonderful Teresa Lola, who is a brilliant poet in her own right. She's a Spread the Word Young Poet of the Year. Yeah, right. Big round of applause for Teresa Lola.
Thank you. I've heard so many different versions of what I am, like Young Poet of the Year, so many different versions. But anyways, I'm going to read 2 poems. And can I just say I absolutely loved all the poems. And yeah, I'm so thrilled that I got to hear them. This first poem is titled Sing Ma Sing. And I wrote it after a conversation with my grandmother, who lives down the road from me. But I found out that her dream was always to become a singer. And that wasn't something she got to do. And so I wrote this as an ode to her. My grandmother sings in her room, and a gospel of notes leap out of her mouth. The hairs on the walls stand in ovation. The mirror applauds and she smiles back, but the windows are always closed, letting in no other audience. Decades have passed clocks between its fingers, and my grandmother's voice still sits in an unventilated room. Each morning she leaves the room, but without her voice, only borrows it to sing to God she's still here, and with strength only old age can conjure up. One evening she confides in me that her singing voice is suffocating, the result of hiding it in her room for years, forgetting that every living thing inside us also has to breathe to survive. I do not know how to console her. My ears are the only thing I have to give a wise woman. She sighs and says to me, Teresa, do not waste your talent, my dear. Gasping for air, my grandmother's voice now crawls out of her mouth during conversations, speaks wistfully about her youthful days when she dreamt of becoming a singer. In the dream, the spotlight seeps through her skin and her body is a flashlight glowing even in the darkest valleys. She sings, and each that listens is saved from something that is killing them. This is to say, it was not about fame, just her yearn to be light, a yearn evident in every form her voice finds itself. When my grandmother speaks, every worry in me loosens from the chemical bonds that made it acid enough to burn. I mourn the voice never heard, but imagine an alternate version of this story. In the alternate version, my grandmother's hair is rich black, her knees are still vibrant. One afternoon, my grandmother sees the sun, notices the way it mimics a spotlight and opens the window to feel its heat on her skin. My grandmother has Motown record label, aching to touch her garment, a crowd requesting an autograph. All want to hear her sing, their mouths spreading the good news. But back then it was day, and now it is night. I am the age she once was, and I am dodging deja vu with practice. At least I now know that breathing is not just for the body, but for the things inside us that will live beyond us to carry our names. My grandmother never became a singer, but I refuse to call it a regret, because I carry her name. A generation carries her name, and tell me, what greater way is there for your light to leave a mark on others? And this second poem is titled Despite the Noise, and I wrote it thinking about London and how no place is perfect. We all have different relationships to a place. She tells me her thoughts on London while her eyes roll like a coin shifting in a purse. In this city, time is a circus acrobat balancing our never-ending demands. Anything beyond a 1-minute wait for the tube train tightens our blood pressure. In the summer, the central line alone will fry the loose hair on the nape of your neck. In the winter, The crammed bodies in the carriage will heat up your cold shoulders. At night, the moon in London is a wandering eye, bloated with options, unable to pick which crowd to watch, which friends to eavesdrop on, which events to attend, which places to reach, which art locations to soak in. Despite the noise and the always abruptly shifting sky, London knows when to slow down, when to shut its loud mouth clocks, when to lower our noise and hear whose spirit is suffering. When a riot breaks out or a tower turns black from smoke, we hold each other to check the other is still breathing, and even the moon stays still until we are sure it is the right decision to move again. Thank you.
A round of applause for Teresa Lola. Stepping up. Yes. Huss.
Thank you. It's always great to be in a room full of poets. You can just feel the poetry simmering there. Thank you for all the great poems we've heard today. I'll read you some short poems. Mine are all small, I don't know why. When I can't comprehend why they're burning books or closing borders, when they can't bear to look at God's own nakedness, when they banned the film and got the seats to stop the play, and I ask why, they just smile and say, she must be from another country. When I speak on the phone and the vowel sounds are off, when the consonants are hard and they should be soft, they'll catch on at once, they'll pin it down, they'll explain it right away to their own satisfaction, they'll cluck their tongues and say, she must be from another country. When my mouth goes up instead of down, when I wear a tablecloth to go to town, when they suspect I'm black or think I'm gay, they won't be surprised. They'll purse their lips and say, she must be from another country. Maybe there is a country where all of us live. All of us freaks who aren't able to give our loyalty to pompous fools, the crooks and thugs who wear the uniform that gives them the right to wave a flag, puff out their chests, put their feet on our necks, and break their own rules. But from where we are, it doesn't look like a country. It's more like the cracks that grow between borders behind their backs. That's where I live. And I'll be happy to say I never learned their customs, I don't remember their language or know their ways. I must be from another country. Thank you. Thank you. I grew up in Glasgow. And my father was always very proud of fitting in with local habits and customs, but especially he was proud of speaking the language like a local. So this is called Chaudhry Sher Mubarak Looks at the Loch. Light shakes out the dish rag sky and scatters the water with sequins. Look, hen, says my father, Loch Lomond. As if it were all his doing, as if he owned it. Laird of Lomond, laird of the language. He's proud to say hen, and even more loch, with an och, not an ock, to speak proper Glaswegian like a true-born Scot, because he makes the right sound at the back of the throat. And he can say hush and khwab and khamosh because the sounds for happy and dream are the words that swim in the water for him. So he says it again. Hen, look, the loch. And I think I want to read you a love poem. It's called The Trick. In a wasted time, it's only when I sleep that all my senses come awake. In the wake of you, let day not break. Let me keep the scent, the weight, the bright of you. Take the countless hours and count them all night through, till that time comes when you come to the door of dreams, carrying oranges that cast a glow up into your face. Greedy for more than the gift of seeing you, I lean in to taste the color, kiss it off your offered mouth. For this, I fall asleep in haste, willing to fall for the trick that tells the truth, that even your shade makes darkest absence bright, that shadows live wherever there is light. Thank you. And I'll end with this one. And it's called Hiraeth, Old Bombay. Hiraeth is one of those almost, any Welsh people here? No one? Oh, right. Hiraeth is one of those almost untranslatable Welsh words. It means something in the direction of a longing to return to something that's no longer there, whether it's an imaginary homeland or something else. And Bombay, as you all know, is a city whose name has been changed. Because when politicians want to rewrite history, one of the first things they do is change the names of things. Hiraeth, Old Bombay. I would have taken you to the Naz Cafe if it had not shut down. I would have taken you to the Naz Cafe for the best view and the worst food in town. We would have drunk flat beer and cream soda and sweated on plastic chairs at the Naz Cafe. We would have looked down over the dusty trees at cars creeping along Marine Drive, round the bay to Eros Cinema and the talk of the town. We would have held hands in the Naz Cafe, over sticky rings on the tabletop, knee locked on knee at the Naz Cafe, while we admired the distant stock exchange, Taj Mahal Hotel, Sassoon-Dock, Gateway. We would have nursed a drink at the Naz Cafe, and you would have stolen a kiss from me. We would have lingered in the Naz Cafe till the day slid off the map into the Arabian Sea. I would have taken you to Bombay if its name had not slid into the sea. I would have taken you to the place called Bombay if it were still there. And if you were still here, I would have taken you to the Naz Cafe.
Wow. Big round of applause for Imtiaz Dhaka. Okay, so I'm gonna do some poems. You two figure out the pecking order. Once I'm done, it's on you, right? Okay, I'm gonna do a poem for you. Yeah, when I was a... Oh, you're gonna step out? Oh, wow, you're probably stepping out. You're gonna leave me holding the fort, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do a poem for you. It's based around, oh man, how do I put this? Yeah, I spent some time in Hollywood, like a couple of years ago, and I was like working with a whole bunch of folks out there, and it was kind of weird being in a place where the visual represents everything, right? Absolutely everything. And I remember my friend was going to the gym, and I was outside this gym just waiting for him, and this girl came out, and she was like gorgeous, like absolutely, like so gorgeous she make you look ugly, you know what I mean, right? And I remember she was just moaning about like, oh my God, I got so much cellulite, oh my God. And you know, you look at someone's pretty thing, you ain't got no right to moan, you know what I'm saying, right? You know, back of the queue in your moaning complaint, right? But it just made me think about how, there's an uncomfortable relationship which everyone has with themselves, but others can't see it. And so this poem delves into that relationship, and it's called Beauty and the Beast. The spotlight forms shadows. The widest of choices can seem narrow. There's too many strings in this archer's bow that can lead to directionless arrows. The turn of a tarot card, scars the path that fate was dealt. That even the most beautiful amongst us all can still cast the mask to hate ourselves. We denigrate ourselves. We never embrace ourselves. We cook the food, serve the plate to reshape ourselves. So we wish to change ourselves. Secretly, escape ourselves. We're almost ashamed of the way that God chose to make ourselves. So I want my nose a little thinner, my figure a little fitter, my lips not too large or too small, my height about 3 inches bigger. Go figure. It's the darker skin that wants to be light. And lighter skin prays all day to catch more sunlight, or sprays on more tone to the bone that makes everything all right. Big wants to be slim, and slim wants curves to bring out the fuller shape that would have made all the difference within. I'm fighting a bald patch. It's a losing battle, and that's a fact. So either I invest in an ocean of useless potions, or I try combing over at the back. You do the math. Usually I wear a hat. We can spend our whole lives worrying over what we cosmetically lack. Blacks wanting to be whites, whites wanting to be black. The grass will always seem greener. Other people's lives will always seem easier. Magazines will always airbrush pictures, providing us with the essential milk of amnesia. I came to bury Caesar, but I found that he buried me. I was killed off by an implicit Molotov of skin-deep ideals. You see, they don't ever want you to be free, in control of your own destiny. There's too many products of stuff that rely on the unhappiness you feel. So you're never gorgeous enough, desirable enough, admirable enough, content enough, proud of who you are in a world that's ever marred by all this resentful stuff. It's a fundamental bluff. But it's hard to rise above this beast whose burden that we all bear. I hope that one day we can look deep in ourselves and see that the beauty was always there. Thank you. Okay. Got me doing a long shift, right. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna give it to you. Yeah, I've been doing poetry for like literally 20 years, and remember I said to you, like, every poem starts off with a passion, it starts off with a dream. Some of you are just starting out right now, and the future might just seem real cloudy, right? But I always have this thing where, like, as long as you know that there's a connection between you and the thing you're writing, right? And you hone that connection, a way emerges. Because if anyone told me that I would be a poet as a profession, I'd think, wow, I'd be laughing at you. So it's all about that first step of self-belief and then making that step forward. But a lot of my poems started off with, just heartbreak poems, you know what I mean? Just, those ones. And it's the whole idea of trying to figure out what love is, trying to figure what is that thing love. I think I figured it out, I generally do. I think I figured it out. I think that love is a look. It's that unknowable look. It's that unquantifiable look. Like sometimes you see someone for the first time, you ever see them, like, wow, love at first sight. Sometimes you're with someone for a little while, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe a year. At one point, someone else will look at the other person and give them a look they've never seen before. Just be like, whoa, I ain't never seen that look before, man. Now sometimes you're given that look, but you ain't getting it back. Sometimes you're getting that look and you ain't planning on giving it back. But either way, love is just a look. So this is one of the first poems I ever wrote. And it basically deals with that weird wrangling. It's got a lot of teenage references in it. So I wrote it when I was a teenager. It's not like I'm going checking out teenagers, right? You know what I mean? I wrote it a long time ago. Right? So I got to make that point because you'd be like, oh, it sounds a bit weird, bruv, Anyway, so this poem is called Mr. G's Valentines. You're the most beautiful sight that I've ever seen. My eyes will boast total delight and revel in your gleam. But do I have to fiend and scheme to make you my queen? Face the knockbacks and the stushness that will dent my esteem? Is it love or is it lust? Only time will tell. Well, my heartbeat excels and my trousers swell. I've got fantasies of ecstatic that plague my mind with erratic thoughts of how to inhabit your space and time. But you see, I remember before I had a car, I bought those one-day travel cards real late at night. The district line propelled me far to invade your sight. Then I went home on a night bus cussing hard because my lyrics weren't right. And I laugh at the things that I do. The mean stares from your brother, hearing she could do better from your mother. Propositions from your sister, opposition from your father. The times I've said to myself, why the f do I bother? And I laugh at the things that I do. I go shopping around town with you and your friends. You try on the same outfits in different stores and ask me to judge them. But I'm in nice guy mode, so I flatter them. And they're in nice girl mode, so they smile and pretend not to know our bedroom secrets that you've already told them. How I can stroke you this way, and I can kiss you like that. Do they know how long I can stay and how much meat that I pack? Do they know that once I climax, I'm asleep on my back? Yeah, you go ahead and laugh at the things that I do. Then there's the missed periods and the drama they bring. The pleasure turns serious as our queens demand kings. I guess it's because it seems that we're doing nothing when our dreams turn to dust and reality kicks in. I frustrate and stagnate you that my plans haven't grown. I used to thrill and elate you, but now there's a change in your tone. My mistakes are inflated, my failings are pointed out, just like teachers red pen slated my homework with clout. The confidence once admired, you've replaced it with doubt. That our love has expired and you'll embrace a way out. So what next? Let's take a step back and focus on that which we have and not that which we lack. I laugh at the things that I did so that it's you that I could be with forever. Forever, ever? Or maybe for just a little bit. To all you beautiful ladies I dedicate this Valentine, you see, Mr. G thought that maybe you want to hear a conscious rhyme. You know, one where I inject words selective, you deserving respect and reflect with regret over our years of neglect. For you carried our weight and I admit that we're in debt. So I expect that I'm correct that you wish to collect. But my rhyme wouldn't shine if it sidestepped sex. Why you think I mind and get vexed every time you talk to your ex? Should I lie and deny I like the taste of your sweat? You know that every time we argue it gets me upset. Am I rude to include visions of you in the nude so I can ravish you like cooked food? Oh, I'm sorry, that's crude. I don't mean to offend with this mixed message I sent. Perhaps I should sit back, retract, and write this conscious rhyme again. You see, I'm conscious that we got problems that we need to overcome. I just hope that once we solve them, we can go back to having fun. Thank you. Let me just check here. Okay, big round of applause for our wonderful judges. You good? I was going to start boring them even more. I quit while I'm ahead. I know the game, right? Everything's good. Okay, so.
It's a hard struggle.
Hard struggle.
So many good poems.
I would ask you, just both of you, if you could just give some you know, you're very esteemed in your profession. If you could just give words of wisdom to everyone in the room here. Some people have never written a poem in their life. Some people are secret poetry writers and never thought of ever stepping up. Just some words of wisdom from both of you, and then we'll get into the judgment.
Everyone in this room is probably wiser than me. So I don't know about words of wisdom, but what I'd say to everyone is the best way to write poetry is to read poetry. Read a lot, you know, get to know the kind of poems that you like. Don't write like them, but then find your own voice. But know what you like. Read, and then think about writing.
I think I'll definitely agree with that. And one thing I loved about all the poems were they were each poem had its own identity, and its poem was very unique to each poet. So I'll say maintain that and form your own poetic voice as well, because that's what will set you apart from everyone else, your own stories.
You know, when I was starting off, I thought I had to sound, I had no role models other than the poets I was reading were John Donne and Gerard Manley Hopkins and Wordsworth and Keats and Shelley. And I didn't have, I thought I had to write like them at first. And it was only when I realized that I could use my own language and my own way of speaking, and that it was all right to do that. It wasn't just all right, but that was the only way to write the poem, to use my own real voice and not try and write in a poetic voice.
Okay, brilliant. So, how's the deliberations been going? Boy.
All right. There were two poets that really stood out for us. We struggled in general, just because every poem was just so good. But there were two that stood out for us, but we have managed to pick a winner. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Should we go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
There was one who was very strong on performance and idea.
Yeah, should we name the name and shame? I don't know. One of the poets that we really loved was Michelle. Hi.
Yeah, that was a lovely way that you came from enough to, brought it round full circle, and it was beautifully done and beautifully performed.
Definitely. So you took us for a range of emotions as well. We laughed with you, we felt sad with you, all those things, and yeah, we really appreciated that. So we thought we would, tell you that. But the winner that we picked
is Zara.
Whoa.
That was a great idea, starting with, we went to heaven for the weekend, and then carrying it through.
Yes, and no, we loved it. We loved the images and how you used like everyday image in heaven, and you kind of connected heaven and earth in some kind of interesting way. So yeah, we loved that. It was beautifully written, beautifully performed, and just all round, what we were looking for, I guess.
Okay, so the winner of the Asia House Poetry Slam 2019 is the wonderful and amazing Zara. And she's going to do her poem again. So this is the winning poem. Big round of applause for Zara.
Thank you, everyone, for turning up on a Tuesday night. Thank you for the judges, and to spread the word in Asia House for setting up an accessible and open slam to young poets. This poem is called Sargam. I mishear a friend say she went to heaven for the weekend, how everyone was dancing all night, how there were string lights everywhere, how her parents lost their frowns in the crowd. I asked her why she didn't stay. I was 6. God knows I don't still picture Jannah the way I did. When the class prefect tries on her best sermon pitch, asks us, Al-Baik? You get those in heaven. Anything you like just comes flying to you, only if your name's not on the talking list. There's never been a version of heaven that didn't hold my old life, of date palms and Cornish picnics, of all the things I said goodbye to, lost, slept in the house coated by sand, where we watched the world from periscopes, ordered shawarma from the Lebanese diner, our days punctuated by the azan. I've downsized my dua since then. They exchange outfits at the gates of heaven, asks to be let in, asks about a boy, about a dead grandfather. Of all the heavens I've hoarded, I like the ones with the flying boxes of fried chicken, the one where the bouncers speak Arabic, the one where you don't need the right kind of passport to stay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, just to let you know that Zara's got a book coming out next year with Burning Eye Books called Data Palm Guzzles. I want everyone to give a big round of applause to all the participants. So that's Kate Dickens, Amina Ali, round of applause, Aman Grover, Mayora, Karani, and Michelle Nathan, and to our judges, Imtiaz Darka and Teresa Lola. This has been Asia House Poetry Slam 2019, brought to you by Bagri Foundation and Spread the Word. My name's been Mr. G. Thank you very much. Good night.